Good morning, everybody. This is Steve from the Worley Bugger. It is August 3rd, 2023 on the banks of the Yakima River here in the Farmlands section. And you can see we are still in big water flow. So lots and lots of water moving at big speeds here. Continue. This is going to happen for at least the next couple of weeks this year, since the reservoirs are a little bit lower and they're looking at conserving a little bit more water. Not all water users are getting 100% of their demand for irrigating. So we might see the river drop back in flow a little bit earlier this year, but that is yet to be determined. So kind of a wait and see game, but you can see right now the river's got a lot of water in it. And very, very difficult to wade fish. Again, we kind of alliterate that every week for folks, so they don't spend a lot of time driving over here. And, we hear, oh man, the river's blown out. Well, it's not blown out. You can see the river I can see the bottom. It's gin clear. It just has a high volume of water this time of year. Basically from spring runoff until the end of August. And then the river goes into what we call flip-flop mode. They bring the Yakima flows down and increase the flows in the Natchez Basin out of the two reservoirs over there. So the irrigators in the lower valley can continue to draw water from there because their irrigation season stays a longer period of time because it stays warmer down there. Then local Kittitas County irrigators are still able to pull water from the ditches well until the month of October. So it's really quite a unique system, the way the Yakima is managed and controlled. And fantastic trout fishery, of course, one of the best in the West, and continues to improve. The other thing that we always kind of beat like a dead horse is the salmon, the reintroduction of, we now have 3 species of salmon back in the river, and that's helped tremendously with the biomass, made fish bigger. Big protein mass, for fish to eat in the fall when salmon are spawning. Eggs, flesh, and then all the little salmon that, are born in the river. A lot of those end up in the bellies of trout and other fish. And, all the biomass that goes back into the river, generates, more bug life, makes the river healthier. So it's really been amazing to watch, over my 30-year career, that the Yakima just turns into this kind of mediocre trout fishery into world class. So you could expect to see these flows the next couple of weeks as we do these reports for you. And then probably about the 3rd week of August, they'll start dropping off. I mean, that's the typical scenario. Like I said, it's kind of a wait and see game, but I have a lot of folks emailing me and contacting me at the pro shop about this term hoot owl. So I thought I would touch on that a little bit. So hoot owl is a phrase, a term that's coined in the great state of Montana. And it is a regulation that's enforced by the Fish and Game there. When their rivers reach a water temperature of 70 degrees for 3 straight days, the rivers go into what they call hoot owl. So it's starting to be used around here, around the Yakima, which is, I think we have to look at a couple of things. Of course, we care about the fishery. It's our livelihood. We don't want to see it endangered, but we got to examine really the difference between a river in Montana and the Yakima. So you can see the flow of the river is absolutely just incredible. It's moving at a high clip. It's probably almost 10 miles an hour. So with this high volume and high speed of water, it creates unbelievable amounts of oxygen, which we consider dissolved oxygen content. So, and the steeper the grade, the more rock that it's running over, the more oxygen it's creating. We also have tons and tons of groundwater that filter into the river, especially through the farmlands and the upper river. Parts of the canyon do have groundwater, you know, that is spilled into the river, but you know, the lower river too flows through a big canyon. You know, we have these 90, 100 degree days. Plus it also has an irrigation return from Wilson Creek that comes in. So that can create higher water temperatures, but still moving at a very, very high speed. So dissolved oxygen content, it's measured on a scale of 0 being the worst, 10 being the best. And probably today our river is probably somewhere in the 8s, if I had to guess. My good friend Dave Duval, he's senior fisheries biologist at Grant County PUD. We'll be out here in the next week or two doing a river report, and we'll show you. We'll come out here and we'll show you the dissolved oxygen content. We'll actually measure it with a machine. We do it every year. And we'll show you just the dissolved oxygen content in the river and why there's really no need to impose a hoot owl restriction on the river. But I mean, if you are concerned, you know, the best time of the day to fish would be, you know, in the early morning, you know, and then fishing through the early afternoon if you're worried about water temperatures and fish. It really wouldn't be, you know, fishing into the afternoon and evening time. That's when you're going to see water temperatures at their highest point. So we're having these big temperature swings in variations in the valley here. I mean, our nighttime lows are down in the 50s, sometimes the low 50s, where our highs can be, you know, in the mid 90s or upper 90s. So huge 40-degree temperature swings throughout the day. So of course that's going to be a huge variable in water temperature and dissolved oxygen content. So I hope that kind of helps explain a little bit. But you know, the majority of fishing that we do at the Worley Buggers through the farmlands and the upper river. So you know, a lot of this water is coming out of the bottom of the Clay Ellum Dam, and it's moving at a high speed, so it's cold. And again, the oxygen content and then creating, you know, with groundwater is creating an ideal trout situation. So I brought my temperature gauge. I got a really, really good temperature probe here, and we'll take the temperature of the river, put it in here. So right now you're looking at 62.7 degrees right here along the bank. So ideal trout temperature in a western river is 55 degrees. So they consider 70 degrees is can be fatal to trout. But again too, this is central Washington. You know, we're semi-arid desert. These are desert rainbows. They've actually found desert rainbows in Sadis Creek in the middle of the desert below Goldendale, living in water at 80-degree temperatures. So these are wild critters. They're tough. You got to give them a lot of credit. They're not fragile. You know, they're born in this river, and you know, they go through all kinds of life obstacles. You know, predators. You know, trying to get nourishment every day. So they're very, very strong-willed. They don't want to just roll over and die, but land the fish properly, barbless hook, remove the hooks, you know, to place the fish back in the net, revive him head first upriver, so the water is rolling over its gills, you know, and creating oxygen, getting the fish back, you know, to a proper level. And then, you know, the fish will swim out of the net when they're ready to go. Typically they'll let you know. They don't want to be in the net, and they don't know you're releasing them. They think they're going in the frying pan, so they think it's all over for them. So those are some things to keep in mind. I mean, it doesn't really matter where you fish. Like if you're going to Montana or Idaho or some other stream in Washington, you know, all this applies. So, you know, fish handling, you know, should be done properly. Like I said, have a good net. Make sure the fish is well revived before releasing it, and we'll continue to have a healthy fishery. The one thing I can say about hoot owls is when we might see, you know, kind of unruly water temperatures in the Yakima, where they get into the high 60-degree mark, would be, you know, during the downslide of the river, you know, in August, when they're dropping the flow of the river, and if we have, you know, very, very warm temperatures, you know, through the flip-flop time. So if we see, you know, 90 degrees or even triple digit, you know, air temperatures during the flip-flop time, then we could see, you know, a need to implement a possible hoot owl restriction on the river. But really, until then, again, like I said, if you're worried about it, fish in the early morning when the water's coolest up until the early afternoon, and then you won't have any problems. But we constantly monitor it throughout the day, and this is about where we're seeing water temperatures right now in the about the 61 to 63 degrees, and I'm here in the farmlands, so if you take it in the canyon, it might be a couple of degrees warmer too. And just because of Wilson Creek, you know, that's an irrigation return, so that water is probably a little bit warmer dumping in there. So we are in the month of August. Not a whole lot to report as far as like hatches go. It's really, it's a big searching time on the river. You can see across the river there. You see how lush the banks are. Just the grass is, you know, at its highest point. You know, it's thick. So all kinds of hoppers, ants, beetles, all kinds of terrestrial life forms in there, you know, that the trout are starting to recognize. So it's a fun time of the river. You can really utilize, you know, a lot of different cool fun patterns. You know, hopper dropper technique is good. The deep nymphing, not really a great way to fish this time of year. Trout don't tend to be holding in really, really deep water. They're more where the faster speeds of water are and the oxygen. Cutthroats will tend to hold on the slower sides of that. So until then, that's about all I got to report. If you have any questions, give us a call. We're starting to book up heavy for the fall. Got some dates. So if you're planning some fall fishing and you want to go with the Worley Bugger, please give us a call early this year so we can accommodate you. Until then, give the Pro Shop a call if you have any questions about anything that I've talked about, and I'll be happy to go over it with you. Until then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and get out, get some fly fishing done.